Hey guys, what's going on? We got another Mythic Plus video. This time we are doing a plus 10 Ultimate Legacy of Tier. We got Tyrannical, Volcanic, and Sanguine. Not too crazy affixes, but kind of a pain in the butt. But as per usual, it is 1.5 times speed, just so it goes by faster. And yeah, but anyways, if you didn't know, if you didn't look at the title, is Enhancement worth playing? It's one of the main questions I get during my stream or comments on the video is enhancement worth playing, because it doesn't, a lot of things say that it's not very good, or it can't compete, but is it worth playing? In my opinion, yes. One, if you enjoy the class, no matter what class it is, you should play it, get good at it, and continue on with it. Because if you're playing one of the underrepresented classes, such as Survival Hunter, Feral Druid, and stuff like that, if you get your IO high enough, people will look at it and be like, oh, this guy's actually a really good player. He's taking this niche class and able to compete with it. So obviously, eventually you'll hit a point where people will start inviting you just because skill and stuff. But I mean, overall, you're not a meta spec, so it is going to still be tough in the long run. But anyways, the other reason would be enhancement excels at funneling cleave. And what does that mean exactly? Well, if you have a priority target, such as in Brackenhide Hollow, those rot singers where they put down the withering totems, you can focus a lot of damage into that target. And even certain bosses where you can pull trash mobs into them, you can funnel a lot of damage. And where does our funnel come from? Well, it comes from Flame Shock putting damage into Lava Lash and stuff like that, right? So we end up pushing a lot and a lot of damage. Now, we are hard capped in AoE at 6 targets with very, very minor uncapped AoE from Crash Lightning. It's definitely a big issue, but it doesn't really. It does hurt us a bit depending on how your tank pulls, really. If your tank is pulling towards what the group is designed for, then you're going to do amazing and you're going to do great. But if he's not, then, those pulls you're going to struggle with. But overall, you're still going to be somewhat competitive with the other classes. Obviously, Shadow Priest, and Dev Evokers are kind of a step above the rest, especially when pulls are designed towards them. But overall, you're gonna do just fine. You excel at boss damage, right? In Mythic Plus, you do a lot of boss damage and funneling and stuff like that. So that's where your main damage comes from. But what are the other utilities? Well, you have a great kick, being 12 seconds, being the shortest kick in the game, which is awesome. It's also ranged, so it's pretty big. The other one is you have a lot of utility, such as stuns and interrupts with both static totem, giving us a nice AoE stun, although it does take a bit of prep with its 2-second timer. And then we also have Thunderstorm, which knocks all units up, interrupting, those uninterruptible stuff, or even interruptible casts, it's very, very useful. Both being a very short cooldown. If you take the static totem talent, you can get it down to, I believe, around 30 seconds. And Thunderstorm is, I think, 25 or 30 seconds on its own. So you have quite a bit of utility. And then on afflicted weeks, I think I've brought this up before, you have Poison Cleanse Totem, which is extremely helpful because you can clear every other set of afflicted without an issue, right? And then for Incorporeal, you bring Hex, not much different from other classes. Certain ones can't even do that, like Warrior, but yeah, so those are big reasons. Our biggest downfall is going to be our defensive quality, right? Our defensive suck. And that's why you will see that a tank trinket is actually listed up as one of the best trinkets for Mythic Plus, and the reason why is because we need it. We need an extra defensive. So I don't have it yet. I will be getting it in a couple weeks, I think, just to prep for it. I know I was doing a Azure Vault 13 on stream, and I didn't use my defensive on one of the on the third boss when he did his super AoE thing, and I died to it. It did 1.3 million damage, and you know, I fell over to it. So yeah, and obviously I could have survived, but you know, I was being dumb, and I should have used the defensive, but I didn't. But yeah, so is Enhancement worth playing in the long run? Yes. If you enjoy it. I really enjoy Enhancement. There's no chance I won't be playing it. Obviously, I will dabble in Elemental, being a stronger spec in a sense for Mythic Plus. But, you know, if you like Shaman as a whole, then choose the stronger spec, which is currently Elemental. But if you love Enhancement and playing it, then go ahead and play it. Another reason why Enhancement is a very good spec right now is because when you have two completely different builds, and they're both very competitive. Although Elementalist does pull ahead due to the tier set benefiting it much more than it does for Storm. Storm is still very competitive in those massive pulls. So if you're doing a key with a Shadow Priest and a Dev Evoker, or maybe something else, maybe a Destro Warlock, and they're doing these massive pulls, play Storm, and you will be able to somewhat compete with them. Not entirely, because they go quite insane. But yeah, it definitely brings a different flavor to Enhance, and you can change. I don't think any other class has two different, completely different specs that they can play in one DPS thing, right? So being that is another reason why I think Enhancement is worth playing, is you get to get the feel of it. But yeah, the main reason is our utility and our funnel cleave. Obviously Enhancement, I don't think it's a very loved spec, but it's not a popular one in that sense, I guess. A lot of people, I think, jumped on the bandwagon in season 3 for the changes and the tier set, but then it started falling off because one, they nerfed it right at the start, and then also the pulls essentially got bigger and bigger, and as we've come to season 4, the pulls have gotten even larger, causing us to fall even further behind, which does suck, but you know, it's still one of the specs. If you enjoy, you should play it. It's not gonna make or break an entire meta. You're not too far behind, but it definitely needs a it could definitely use some love from Blizzard. Just a small damage increase of some sort would be nice, but I don't quite see that happening. Now in raid, we are I think we're still one of the stronger specs, but I think it revolves around having less RNG than some classes, although you do revolve around getting critical strikes with LE Blast and stuff like that. I still think it's very competitive. Me and the other Enhanced Shaman in my guild, we're typically in the upper sections of the DPS meters in our raids, so I think it's still very powerful, but it definitely could use some... It just needs a bit of a buff in AoE. Now, if we got extra defensives, that would be huge. I think War Within is kind of fixing that a little bit with the hero talents, giving us a little bit of a passive defensive, right? So that'll be quite interesting to see, but for now, it's tough to say if they plan another balance change and what might they do. But yeah, I still think Enhancement is worth playing, especially if you enjoy it. A big one is it worth playing Storm, right? Well, it really depends on your opinion, right? Storm is competitive. I've proven it with a few videos, especially last season too. I did quite a few videos of Storm. It definitely is competitive. It's just a little bit RNG factored, and the build that has been suggested to most people with Splintered Elements, in my opinion, is not the better build. And the reason why is you're sacrificing too much single target, and honestly, it doesn't feel like Storm. It really doesn't. Storm, to me, is getting an Ascendance proc and doing damage, right? and staying in Ascendance as much as possible while spamming Chain Lightning and Lightning Bolt with Crash Lightning and getting Wind Fury damage. Those are the big ones that I think make Storm itself, right? Whereas Elementalist is more like Ellie Blast and focusing on your Maelstrom spenders, whereas Storm is, you know, Storm Strike and Wind Fury damage. So it's definitely a different feel, but it definitely is competitive. It's very, very competitive. I don't think anybody should shy away from it. I know some people have tried playing without the tier set, but I don't think that's possible. You do have to take Primordial Wave. It does kind of suck a little bit, but you just have to make use of the tier set and suck it up for now. It does suck, but you know, what can you do when the tier set is just that big of a gain? But yeah, so if you're gonna play Storm, play it with Rooted Elements all the way to Thorm's Invocation, and then just have Primordial Wave itself, nothing else, and then Alpha Dog and stuff like that. That'll basically give you the edge in AoE a little bit, as well as some really good single target. When you run Splintered Elements, I feel like you lose a significant amount of single target for a very minor increase to AoE. With all the generation of Maelstrom when you get an Ascendance proc, as well as just being able to smash Wind Strike and get a whole bunch of Chain Lightning out, those are the big gains right there. But yeah, I don't know what Blizzard's plan is for the future. Within a few weeks, if we don't see a balance patch, then I highly doubt anything else is going to come forward. But yeah, if you're worried about survival, then grab the Fire Axe Raging Heart or whatever to get an extra defensive, as well as just, you know, give yourself some spot heals and stuff like that. I think I pulled aggro here and died. I don't know what happened, but yeah, you also have D-Curse, which is a very rare one. In Uldaman, there are some curse dispels where if you don't dispel it, the targeted person will actually die and there's no actually saving them. I have tried using a defensive and stuff like that, but it's kind of weird. So make sure you have D-Curse in certain dungeons, especially Nelthara's Lair, or Nelthara, sorry. That's another big one that's going to be there. The final boss that puts a ticking dot on you every time you grab the gold pile. So you do have utilities. You bring a lot of utility to the group. It's just your damage does lack a little bit. But as you can see, I am very competitive with this Dev Evoker. It does take a bit of practice to get the rotation down. It is a pain. It is a real pain in the butt. I hate this rotation to an extent. Like, I guess not really hate it. It's just an annoyance, I guess, having so... it's just a button bloat, I guess. I'd really like a rotation in between Storm and Elementalist. Elementalist, I just feel like there's too much going on. And in Storm, there's not enough going on, right? So somewhere in the middle would be nice. But, you know, that might be a bit too much asking for. Who knows? Looking at the hero talents in the future, we're looking like it's going to be pretty interesting. But at the same time, I'd really like to see them focus more on the talent trees rather than the hero talents right now, because yeah, there's a big issue with talent trees for Shaman. I know we have two totally different builds that both work amazingly, but our class tree feels very irrelevant to an extent. I mean, we have Thunderstorm, which is a final tier talent. We have Poison Cleanse Totem, which is a final tier talent. And then we have Cap Totem, and that's all you really use. The other one is Astral Shift and Earth Wall and Ancestral Guidance, which they nerfed Ancestral Guidance, which is absolutely mind-blowing to me, where they didn't nerf Vampiric Embrace or Nature's Vigil. Why they chose Nature's Guidance, I don't know, or Ancestral Guidance. I don't know why they nerfed it. Like, I don't get it. I really don't. I think it should be reverted. We can only heal up to a maximum amount of health, which is absurd to me. because we're hit capped for 1, and we really need a good utility to make it like, oh yeah, we should bring a shaman. They bring great AoE healing, you know, a burst of AoE heals, which in a lot of these dungeons, AoE healing is definitely needed from your DPS, right? So, and it's been proven with boomkins and an Aug Evoker and a Shadow Priest, where these top keys aren't even being run with a healer anymore. They're just relying on their DPS to pop their healing cooldowns and shit like that, and that's quite ridiculous to me. The fact that you don't need a healer in a key is kind of crazy, and you know, goes to show that there might be a bigger issue with classes than they actually think. But you know, that's a whole other topic right now. Uh, but yeah, as for enhance goes, you know, play what you enjoy. Don't be discouraged by anything. Get to be the best at it, right? Any class, right? Become the best at it and do what you got to do. Obviously, it's going to be tough to get into keys if you're playing a non-meta spec. I mean, I struggle to get into keys. That's why I focus on either using my own key or, you know, getting my friends to play. And yeah, so do play what you enjoy, because if you're playing something you don't enjoy, then you're not going to want to play the game. And if you don't want to play the game, well, that's kind of an issue, right? It's something you enjoy, obviously. But don't be discouraged if people say, oh, that spec sucks. It doesn't necessarily suck. You just, there are top players playing it right now in a very high level. One, Elbero, and two is going to be Waves, I believe. And then there's definitely a few more out there. They play it at the very top level and are competing with the high-end players, so keep that in mind. But anyways, guys, that is going to be it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed me rambling on about random stuff. Please do play what class you enjoy and what spec you enjoy, and go for it. Don't be discouraged by any comments or anything like that. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Laters!